Hey, thanks everyone for joining the February 15th, 2018 VOLTHA TST call. We have a couple demos lined up today for the recent VOLTHA work for 1.3. And I do want to remind everyone we are recording the session, so it will be posted later to the VOLTHA playlist. And I believe we're just going to have two demos today. And so that's the Kubernetes-related work that is going to be presented by Richard momentarily. And then after that, we have a demo of the O&E remote reboot. And this one, I did not manage to get this lined up coordinated. And so this one, I expect we're going to need to postpone that to a different time. And then also, as I sent out in the email prior to the meeting, we had talked about having a future framework discussion topic, and Manuel had a conflict with the meeting today, and so we have had to postpone that to a future call. So I believe the focus today will be just these first two demos that were in the agenda. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give the presentation rights over to Richard so we can start the first demo. So thank you very much. And you should now be presenter. Okay, and I can see your screen.
Okay, great. I have a slide here somewhere. Let me bring that up. So the slide will basically tell you what I intend to show. Now, I don't know what the knowledge level is of the various people on the call. I myself only learned how to spell Kubernetes a few weeks ago. So what I'm going to demonstrate is a three-node Kubernetes cluster. We've got one master and two workers configured right now. I'll show you what the pod setup looks like just after installation. You basically just have the Kubernetes system pods running. I'll point out the important network pods. These are an add-on, one of multiple add-ons that you can plug into Kubernetes, because Kubernetes doesn't do this on its own. So you can get one from WeaveNet, from Calico, Canal, Flannel, and there are others as well. What we have in the demo is a WeaveNet plugin. And then as a prequel to trying to get access to the console UI, I'm going to show how to access cluster services from outside the cluster using the Kubernetes Ingress resource and an Ingress controller, which you have to tack on because that also does not come with Kubernetes. I'll show you that we have everything, all the VOLTHA components are running within the VOLTHA namespace, so that's keeps it sort of separate from the kube system. That doesn't impose any security restrictions. A pod from one namespace can communicate with a pod from another namespace. It's more of an organizational thing. And I'll show the deployment of console, Kafka, the VOLTHA core, and the CLI, basically the core of the VOLTHA components. And I'll end up showing Grafana, really, because it's just another GUI that has to go through these through the Ingress structure. So that's basically it. If anybody has questions at any point, feel free to chime in. Again, I don't know what your knowledge level is. Okay, so here I've got 3 Kubernetes nodes. And we can sort of look at the nodes very simply by going get node. Whoa. Kubelet, sorry, kube control. There we go. Those are the 3 nodes. We have one master and the other 2 are workers. We're running Kubernetes version 1.8.5. So let's take a look at this is similar to the Docker PS command that shows the Docker containers running. We'll be showing the, here we are, all the pods that are running. What we've done for VOLTHA is basically map every single Docker container that we used in swarm mode into its own pod. So we're not doing anything fancy here like putting multiple containers within the same pod, which Kubernetes does support. So here are the Kubernetes system pods. There's the API server, the controller manager, there's a DNS, blah, blah, blah. This is the stuff you see running, these here. These are the pods you see running after you install Kubernetes initially. Then after that, you've got to add the network plugin. And we see that we're using WeaveNet. So the first thing I wanted to show was console access. And we have a couple of services that get mapped into Kubernetes from the outside. Access into the console UI and access into the Grafana UI. And what we're doing to distinguish those two services on the Kubernetes side is we're forcing the outside entity to provide a unique host name in the URL. So I've set this up on my Mac. Here we go. Kubernetes console at port, that's the port number. We try to get in. Of course, the site can't be reached because nothing is actually running. So let's, I talked about the Ingress resource and the Ingress controller. So we got to get that set up, and those files are under the Ingress folder. We have to run all this stuff, and this was available on the web. I had to add a file to it to get it going. So to run it, we go kube control. Whoops, what happened? Apply, and we can run all those files just by specifying the directory. So I'll go, my thing is flashing, Ingress. We have an error. Okay, I planned that. As I mentioned before, we have all the VOLTHA components running in its own namespace, but the namespace hasn't been created yet. So let's do that. I've created the namespace. Oops. There it is at the bottom. We now have a VOLTHA namespace in addition to the kube system. There's a default. If you don't specify one, everything goes into the default namespace. Now let's try and run the Ingress, deploy the Ingress stuff. Okay, that looks good. Let's see what pods are running. Here we go. So we have the Ingress controller, which makes use of the Ingress resource. Now, if you try and get into the system from the outside and you don't specify a valid URL, what Nginx does, it actually forwards it to a default backend. And we can actually take a look at the Ingress. And we have to specify the VOLTHA namespace. There it is. And we can actually describe the Ingress, and that will show you what I tried to describe before. VOLTHA Ingress in the VOLTHA namespace. There you go. There's the host you saw in the URL, and it's going to get mapped to the console service at port 8500. Similarly, we have a mapping of this host ID into the Grafana UI. So what happens now if we go back to our UI? Aha. Okay, so we've gotten farther. So this is what that default backend sort of spits out when, in this case, the console service is not even running. So we're getting closer. So let's try now deploying console. And here are all the manifest files. These are actually in the repo under the K8S folder. And I'm going to run the console guy. created a console service and a console stateful set. And here are the three console pods running in the system. Now you can take a look at the logs quickly to make sure that those guys are sane. Console is sort of the root of the system. Okay, whoops, specify the VOLTHA namespace. Okay, that's a good sign. The console instance that actually spits out all the members is the leader. It actually declares, okay, I'm leader, here are all the members. So I'm not going to go to the other ones because they should be in okay shape. Now, let's go back to our UI. Hello. And we're into console. And we can see there are three nodes. If we go to the KV store, there's nothing, and that's because VOLTHA is not running. So let us continue building up the system. To keep VOLTHA happy, we also need Zookeeper and Kafka. So let me run Zookeeper. There's a nice option here, -W. It'll actually sort of watch. Oh, in this case, everything's running, so you can see the changes dynamically. But Zookeeper is going. Let's start up Kafka. Okay, I suspect they're all running now. There we go. And now let's run vCore. Now we have two versions of vCore. There's one that works with console and one that runs with etcd. Etcd takes a bit more to set up, so I'm not going to demo that unless we have time and somebody really wants. But I'm going to run the console version. And it looks like vCore is running. How do we know everything is happy? I thought I would go inside one of the vCore containers and make sure the KPIs, Kafka messaging and all that is actually working. And here we have our container. Oops. Okay, that is the VOLTHA guy, and we can go install Kafka cat. And make sure everything is sane on the Kafka front. Specify the broker, Kafka in this case. Let's look at the metadata. That looks good. We've got the three brokers here, and here are all the topics. So I can actually consume one of those topics, the KPIs, and we should see messages getting spit out. There we go. So VOLTHA is happy, and KPIs are coming out. And this is also an important part of the Grafana demo, or part of the Grafana demo. Okay, got a couple more things to, oh, wait a minute, now the vCore is running. Haha, let's go back to our UI. We should have stuff in the key value. There we go. Now the VOLTHA is running. It's populated the KV store. Here are the members, and these three guys should match these three guys here. 9HPV, K9WT, yeah, they're all there. So that's good. Continuing on with Envoy. There's also two versions of Envoy, one that works with etcd, one that works with console. We'll go into console mode here. And there's the Envoy load balancer. Make sure he's happy. Yes, he is. He's very happy. And nothing's complete without the CLI going, so I'm going to start that up next. And we have two instances of the VCLI. Now, in addition to looking at all the pods, you can also look at all the services. And in this case, you need the cluster IP in order to access the CLI, and it's over here. So you run the CLI here, SSH port 5022 at. And there we go. I have the CLI. Whoops. Of course, there are no devices. I don't know if there's more time. I can continue with Grafana, or I could entertain questions. At this point, what was I going to do next? I've deployed Kafka, Volta, and Volta CLI. With the Grafana demo, it's kind of nice because you can start up the stats package, which includes Shovel and -D. You can see the Volta data source come up in the GUI. You can then also see a dashboard being created when you provision simulator OT and you enable it. So again, more indications that things are working. So it's up to you guys. I can continue. I'll tell you what, I'll just run the Volta, the Grafana demo, because that's very sexy.
Hi, Richard. I was going to say, I think we've got about 10 more minutes that we can use for continuing the demo and for questions if folks have them.
Okay, are there any questions right now? Okay, I'll go on. And here's the Grafana URL. Of course, we get the backend standard response, no service available. Well, that's because we haven't started Grafana yet. So let's start her. Takes a while for, it seems to take a while. That's the service. I don't want the service pod. Okay, I guess the image was downloaded. It's running. Great. So we go back to the UI, refresh that, and we have Grafana. Of course, if we look at the data sources, there's nothing there. And there's nothing there until we start the -D and Shovel services. This list is quite long. So, of course, you can filter on, instead of all namespaces, you can filter on the Volta namespace only. And then you'll just get the Volta components. Okay. Lastly, we'll start up the stats manifest. And they're up and running. There's Shovel, and there's -D. Now, what I'll do is I'll actually tail the logs on those guys. Okay, you see here there's a log that says data source added. So if we go back to the UI, and we refresh this link, this URL, here it is. VOLTHA stats is now in there, but there are no dashboards. If you go to the dashboards screen, all you have is home and Docker. Let me also, tail the logs from the shovel. It'll also tell you when things start working a bit better. Yeah, we see these sort of small messages, length of 2, going up. There we go. When we create the device, you'll see that these batches get larger as larger messages get sent to Grafana, and we do that through the CLI. So actually we'll see the dashboard come out of this guy. So let's go into this pre-provisioner OLT. Now have a device, and then we enable it. So here we go. We have a dashboard that was created. There's a login -d, and all of a sudden you see the batch KPIs are bigger. So if you go into the UI, and there it is, the new dashboard. That's basically it.
Thank you very much for the demo. So does anyone on the call have questions?
No questions, but thanks, Richard. That was neat.
Okay, so Richard, I think we can go ahead and close out your portion of the demo then, so much appreciated. And then Girish, are you ready for me to give you presentation rights for the ONU remote reboot demo?
Yes, please.
Great, thank you. So I will make you presenter.
Sure.
And you should now have presentation rights.
Okay. Can everyone see my desktop?
Yes.
Okay, so just let me run through the presentation on what I'm going to present today. So let me minimize this one. Okay, so this demo is on the ONT reboot from the VOLTHA CLI. So this is my setup topology. So I have ONOS and VOLTHA running on one machine, and I have the ASFV OLT 16 OLT, and I have a TNW ONU hanging off this OLT. Can everyone see this slide perfectly, or do you want me to enlarge this one?
I can see it.
It's fine for me too.
Okay, sure. I have a PC that's hooked up to this TNW ONU that emulates the RG. I have another machine that emulates the BNG, so it has FreeRadius and DHCPD running that assigns the IP addresses. So the use case that I'm going to show you guys right now is the ONOS, VOLTHA, and OLT are up and running. The ONT is pre-provisioned using XPON. The ONT is discovered and enabled as per the XPON configuration. EAPOL, then you run EAPOL, DHCP, and run the unicast traffic. In the interest of time, I have executed all these steps already because it takes some time and it will be very boring for you guys to see that. And the next thing that I'm going to do is reboot the ONT and observe that the unicast traffic stops, and the device is marked failed and unreachable on the VOLTHA CLI, and the owners shows that the UniPort for the corresponding logical device is actually disabled. So once the device reboots and becomes reachable again, we should see that the unicast traffic resumes automatically, and the device is marked active and reachable on the VOLTHA CLI, and owner shows the UniPort as enabled. So this is the demo that I'm going to show you guys right now. So let's go to the demo. So this is, I have a few terminals open here. So on one, I have the VOLTHA CLI. I have the owners on another terminal, and I have a telnet connection to my ONU. So this is the TNW ONU. Just so you guys know, so Broadcom, there is no TNW ONU adapter as of now in VOLTHA. So the Broadcom ONU adapter itself doubles as a TNW ONU adapter by just changing the vendor ID to TWSH. Since I didn't have a Broadcom ONU on my setup, so I'm just using the TNW ONU to show the demo here. And this is my RG emulator. So as of now, I'm pinging my BNG IP address just to show you guys that the end-to-end traffic is working. So far, any questions?
So, Girish, this is Sean.
Yes.
So basically, the ONU adapter name still Broadcom _ONU, and they just changed the vendor ID or what to the
Yes.
instead of the Broadcom, now the BRCM, you become a TNW or something, right?
Yeah, TWSH.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I think at some point, because this is maybe aside the topic here, but I think at some point we need to explore how the same adapter can. I believe we talked before that you can include multiple vendors ID in the same adapter. So what I'm saying is, we need to figure out how we can have the same file but include multiple vendors ID in there, so we don't have to keep modifying the Broadcom ONU adapter every time when we have different ONU based on the Broadcom reference design. That's just a comment.
Yeah, I think it's possible as of today. I mean, I could have done that, but the problem was I had to enable different UniPorts. I mean, I had to enable different UniPorts on the Broadcom and TWSH ONU. And since the ONCI messages are the same that kept, exchange between the two ONUs, I didn't want to, collide. So I just went ahead and gave support for single ONU through that adapter.
Okay, so maybe I'll start a discussion on about the discussion regarding to multiple ONU can be listed on the same adapter. So let's go from that later on. Okay, so please resume your demo here.
Yeah, so just so you see here, so it's the Broadcom ONU adapter, but the vendor is TWSH. So I have the ASFE OLT and the Broadcom ONU hanging off this OLT, and on the ONOS, you see that the logical device is available, and you see the NNI port 129 and the UNI port corresponding to the ONU 21. So both are enabled. Now, what I'm going to do is, you see that the ping is actually running right now. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and reboot TWSH ONU. So you see that the ONU is actually rebooting right now, and you should see that the ping has stopped. And on the VOLTHA CLI, you will see that the ONU has become unreachable. The operation status is failed, and the connection status is unreachable. And on the ONO CLI, you see that the state of the uniport is actually disabled. So we will wait for some time for the device to come back up and let the VOLTHA, configure the ONT to its original state once it comes back up. So I think it's already done. So the ping is, the end-to-end traffic has resumed. And let's verify on the VOLTHA CLI. So you see that the device is, the operation state is active. Sorry, it's active and it's reachable. And on the ONO's CLI, you should see that the port is enabled. So that's the demo. So it was very short. You guys have any questions?
So Girish, so basically, once ONU started, you're basically simulating the AT&T's use case, right? You have the RG requesting the EA poll to do the AO2.1x, and once the authentication completed, then the DHCP request was sent out from the RG. Okay.
Yes. So these are, so this is the initial flow that you have, the EA poll. So once the successful authentication happens, then the DHCP flow is actually, DHCP and rest of the flows are actually provisioned. And then you can do the DHCP and the unicast traffic.
Okay.
Any further questions?
No, this is good. Thank you. It just in the lab environment recently, what we've been seeing is if you reboot the ONT in the park environment here, it seems like the radius will be continued. But what we do we by power and cycle the ONU, but the DHCP will not be engaged. So I opened a Jira ticket on that one just yesterday or 2 days ago. But on your environment here, it's a simulated, then it seems like radius and then DHCP goes through smoothly here. So
yeah. So I didn't have to execute the DHCP procedure again, so it automatically resumes. So
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Unless you guys have any question, I'm done with the demo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Girish. I'll go ahead and take presentation rights back.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And hopefully we are back to seeing the agenda that was sent in the email. Can you see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I think we've covered what we plan to go over today. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we do not have the demo lined up for the disable and re-enable ONU in Broadcom adapter. So Sean, we'll see if we can figure out a demo for that at a later time. I know you'd wanted to try and get that one in today, but that did not happen. So I'll work on that. Oh, go ahead.
My question is, so who closed that ticket? Is that Girish also?
No. Let's see. Let me see if I have
This
it
1
open.
0.
When was it? 482.
Sean,
actually, go ahead.
are you asking about the are you asking about the disable and re-enable?
Yeah.
Yes, this was done by one of my
Raghu,
colleagues. No,
Suhas, right?
yeah, so I could have shown this demo on the TNW ONU, but the problem is the TNW ONU doesn't support the ONTG admin state disable and enable. We don't have that patch applied on the ONU that I have right now.
Okay. But so when Suhas completed this one, which ONU he was using?
Broadcom. Broadcom.
Okay.
So Broadcom does support this.
Okay. And do you guys have Alpha Network ONU over there too?
Sorry?
Do you have Alpha Network ONU?
I guess we have Alpha.
Okay. But yeah, so basically on your location you don't have Broadcom, so you cannot do that. I was hoping to just said, oh, I guess I'm a little bit maybe unclear about the functionality support. You know, whether that ONU is Broadcom native or Broadcom the ODM or OEM ONUs. So yeah, I thought maybe that you are probably not specific for Broadcom reference ONU. But you said TNW doesn't support that, doesn't have that part of software to support that. So is that something the community need to go work with the TNW to have them to enable that?
No, it does have the support, but the patch is not applied on the ONU, TNW ONU I have right now on the setup.
Okay, okay.
They have given a patch for that, but it's not applied yet on this one.
Okay. So maybe for the later time frame, maybe you can something can be done.
You mean as a demo?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll discuss that internally and get back to you.
Okay. Because I'm sure the enable and disable and re-enable, I think that's probably very common operation type of the it's very common, right? So I just would like to make sure, you know, the functionality is not just for Broadcom ONU specific. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sean. So we can talk about that separately and try and line up a demo at a later date for that. And then the next thing, Sean, I know I've talked with you about this as well. So we had a schedule conflict for the discussion topic we plan to have about some future framework topics. And so I think you did want to briefly, Sean, if I'm correct, I think you wanted to briefly mention something about the sort of prep work for the lockdown in April, trying to get some of the discussion underway on specific topics on VOLTHA discussed prior. Would you like to take a minute or two?
Sure. So I spent a full last week with in ONF, and then discussed with Shad and then Manuel and other community members. So there are a list of maybe something of very fundamental framework related issue will be probably on the table to be discussed. The one thing I think the couple of topic I think they bring Bainbridge is on here right now also. The couple of topic I would like to mention is the stateless connection between. I'm having a jet lag here, but it's a stateless connection from the VOLTHA adapter to the VOLTHA core. No, from the OLT to the VOLTHA adapter. So that is, I think right now it's all stateful. I think Shad has a question regarding to whether that can be a function as stateless. So in that case, the load balancing can be done much more easily. I wouldn't say easily, but it can be done, and then the adapter and the V core would not be like a tie in together. That's one of the topic. the other topic is the externalized of the technology. David, what was the best word to describe that? David Benbridge.
Yep, externalizing the technology-specific configuration.
Right, it's the technology-specific the configuration based on maybe the device model and then also service templates. I think there are some idea right now have been flowing on the table. So that the benefit is, by using the service profile, it's the technology specific service profile and also vendor operator specific service profile, that will eliminate some of the burden or extensive work need to be done affecting the VOLTHA core. So as long as we get the framework, VOLTHA framework defined, then the technology-specific configuration and also the operator-specific configuration can be adapted into the VOLTHA framework by using these profiles. So I was hoping, before I left, I can get David. We whiteboard a whole session on that with Manuel, and I was hoping to have start kicking off some discussion. But I think I don't want to force someone to present them, without letting them know first. So maybe there's something we can start discuss that next week. And there's also some inventory related stuff, issues we would like to flow on the table also. I guess, I think this is also related to how exactly we want to know about the position of the ONT, or the ONT, we call TID, the ONT AID, so anyway, I'm sleepy now. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is we're going to, since Manuel is not here and then I'm on vacation also, maybe we'll start flowing some of the idea on the VOLTHA Discuss. And then the goal is, I think we would like to have more thorough discussion before the April lockdown. So during the lockdown, we can actually spend the time to debate the majority of the common agreement of the framework has been established before we come into the lockdown. And lockdown is for us to have a face-to-face discussion and debate, and then try to make sure we have the most agreeable framework to push things forward through I think VOLTHA 2.0 and beyond. So we will start some kind of the idea to release and then to publish that on the VOLTHA Discuss. I think that's all I have. I sent out also I also sent out the address of the April lockdown through the VOLTHA Discuss. So people, if you want to start making arrangement of the hotel, you can start doing so. Julie.
Okay, thank you. So hopefully everyone did see the email that Sean had sent with that address for the April meeting. And then Sean, I believe also you'd sent out, I think it was just to team leads, the spreadsheet that we were discussing at the last meeting with
Correct.
the edge core adapter issues. And so if folks could get comments back to Sean as needed, so we can kind of bring that afterwards then to the larger community. I think that's what he's waiting for. And then we can follow up with more discussion on that, in the TST calls. So Sean, I have a question related to the framework discussions and kind of the prep for April. So I know you give a brief overview of the topics you were looking to have discussed, and we'll get some email going on VOLTHA Discuss to kick off that in advance so people can start prepping and forming proposals and so forth and get some discussion going. So if Manuel is is available, would you like him to give the presentation that he was planning to lead today? Would you like him to do that while you're on vacation? Or do
Sure.
you want it just on VOLTHA Discuss?
No. If he's able to present that,
Okay.
then that's fine.
Okay.
You know,
So
are you thinking about maybe next Tuesday or something?
I'm thinking of next Thursday if he's available, because we've been trying to cover the status updates for the in-progress sprint on the Tuesday calls. So what I'll do is I'll talk with him and see if he's available next Thursday, and if not, maybe we can take a portion of maybe 15 minutes of Tuesday's call to kick off discussion. But I'll talk with him and see what his schedule is looking like for next week, and then we can maybe get that covered while you're on vacation. And then hopefully prior to that, that will have been introduced briefly over VOLTHA Discuss for the topics as well. So people will have a little more background, so they're not seeing everything just for the first time when Manuel presents it.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks everyone. I think that is it for today. I think we'll give you about 10 or 12 minutes back. Questions from the group before we wrap up for today? Okay, so we have some follow-up that will happen in terms of planning for next week to kind of reschedule this discussion. But Sean, thank you for giving a quick overview of that. And then separately, we'll work offline to see if we can line up a demo at a later date. And so it'll be TBD for that. But when we have something, we'll put it on the calendar. And then thank you again to our presenters today. Much appreciated the work you did getting ready for the presentations and the demos. It's good to see the progress that the community is doing. So I really appreciate the time that you spent doing that. And I think that's it for today. Last calls before I stop the recording.
Hope everybody has a very good, happy Chinese New Year.
Happy Chinese New Year to you too, Sean.
Okay, bye.
Okay, thanks everyone. I will go ahead and stop the recording and drop the bridge. Thank you.